may be an atheist. It's still going to work. People are often able to let go where the conscious mind can drop its guard. I'm not saying this as a stereotype.
Coming to sound healing, because you mentioned that you integrate the sound healing with inner child.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on how this works?
Yeah, so one of the ways in which I might practice inner child healing is with the help of sound healing. It can be done without sound healing also, but one of my preferred methods is with sound healing, because what tends to happen with sound healing is that it doesn't require anything. You don't have to be carrying a certain belief system. You may be an atheist. It's still going to work.
It's non-invasive.
It is non-invasive. It does not depend on your belief system. It is not governed by the religion, the gender. It doesn't depend on whether you're left-brained or right-brained predominantly. You can be a very logic-driven person and still sound healing will work because it's scientific. It works through the principle of resonation. So because it works through the principle of resonation, people are often able to let go and allow the process to work easier through sound healing. Now, when I try something, and again, I'm not holding anything against any modality, to each one their own. And I also believe the person who's coming shows you the path. Somebody's energy will be very resonant with sound healing. Somebody else's energy will be very resonant with hypnotherapy. And again, hypnotherapy is accessing exactly what through sound healing you're accessing sometimes.
This one, the hypnotherapy is more conscious.
You're leading consciously through a certain path.
And it's more vocal.
Yeah. So you're leading a person to a state of trance, which you can also do through sound healing. Just that in sound healing, the resistance melts. Because it's so palpable, it's so real. You don't have to trust the therapist. You don't have to believe in healing. You don't have to. You just lie down, and through the principle of resonation, the sound will start creating a similar frequency within you.
The cosmic sound
The
is
cosmic
working.
sound. So I could be using voice as just, cosmic sounds. I could be using certain frequencies. I could be using Tibetan singing bowls. I could use any of these for sound healing. And therefore, what I'm doing is I'm therefore taking the person into that state of ease where the conscious mind can drop its guard. And now we have access to the subconscious. Now we have easier access to the inner child. And the inner child is at the same time feeling very nourished, because sound healing is like a soul spa.
I love that.
It's like you're in this spa and you're receiving so much nourishment, and it's such a beautiful sense of homecoming, like you're in the womb of nature. So it's not a cold and clinical experience. It's a very warm, loving, welcoming space, very safe space. So when you have a safe space, then you feel like going into it. So inner child healing, in fact, the child within you feels so nourished, feels so warm. It's like putting this spiritual blanket, this energetic blanket around you. And therefore, it works with complete ease and is far more effective sometimes than other methods might be. And here I'm speaking as somebody who does deploy other methods. But my experience tells me that sound healing can work beautifully sometimes with people, for example, who are very logic-driven. A lot of times, and I say this with discretion, I'm not saying this as a stereotype, often men respond very beautifully to sound healing.
It's evidence-based.
Yes.
And the intellect demands evidence.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's so much more easier
Yes.
to establish the trust
Yes.
on the process.
And I don't need to trust the therapist. I don't need to believe something which the proof doesn't exist for. I know when I'm experiencing sound healing that there is a vibration being created within me. I'm feeling the vibration in every cell of my body. I know it's real. So it's very evidence-based, like you said. So it works very well with people of certain professions also sometimes. So lawyers, doctors, people from armed forces, people who are practiced in using their evidence and their logic.
More intellect-based.
Yes. It also works beautifully with specially abled people. It works in an amazing way with children, with animals, with plants. So you can create so much more growth in animals, in plants, in children. You can create balance so easily, and you don't have to give them knowledge and an overload of information. Very experiential. If I put a glass of water here and I play a singing bowl, the glass of water doesn't need to believe in me. The glass of water doesn't have to trust me. It doesn't need to know, this and that scripture. It will just start vibrating with the same frequency. So it's exactly that.
I think sound also can be defined as universal love.
Yeah.
Because that's what is love, is what I understood, through my journey.
Yeah.
I mean, because that's what we experience, right? Within us. And becoming love is also as good as becoming the pure sound, which was at the time of creation. I mean, would you correlate that? Because that's what is nurturing us.
Yeah, I absolutely correlate that. I would go a step further and say, at the essence, what is sound? It's vibration. And what are you? You're vibrational being. You're a vibrational being. Your atoms and your molecules are vibrating at a certain frequency. Your thoughts are vibrating at a certain frequency. Your energy is vibrating at a certain frequency. So you're a vibrational being. Every being is a vibrational being here. Even a so-called non-living object, this table, is filled with vibrations of the wood.
Which is scientifically proven now.
So everything in the universe, everything in the cosmos is made up of vibrations. So when the vibration can be heard through the sense of sound, through the sense of hearing, we call it sound. It can also be experienced as light. But at its very core, it is the source energy, the purest form of vibration.
And I think that vibration of love is what heals you in a sound healing session.
Yes, you are reconnected to what you're made up of before the contamination happened. And this is a question people often ask, if everything is source energy, how do you justify a Hitler? How do you justify people who are doing wrong things? You say that, everything is made up of source. That used to be one of my questions.
Yeah.
I used to wonder, all these teachers say that everything is made up by the same divine energy. What is so divine about this being? They're committing evil things. And that is when I realized through a very simple example that if you imagine that everything is made up of the same energy, but that energy is getting colored and affected by the experiences that a being is going through. So there is contamination of the energy. So maybe there are 3 levels of contamination, 4 levels of contamination, but I'm still made up of the same energy. So the same electricity is producing light. The same electricity is playing through this mic. It's the same source.
Yeah. And it's also a spectrum of frequencies.
It's a spectrum.
It's
not a single.
The core would be the highest level.
Yes.
But then there are the lower levels. And I think it's a play between the spectrum.
It's the frequencies that are producing the levels. It's the frequency of the same source energy. But I can experience it as anger, resentment, sadness. Those are also twisting of the same source energy. Once upon a time, it was pure love.
And I think even for the creation to maintain that balance needs both, right? The positive and the negative spectrum.
Yes.
I mean, if you look at it as a whole, right? I mean, both are important in a way.
Yes, the need for contrast is there, especially on this planet, because the way we experience things up to a certain stage is through contrast. We understand what day means because there is night.
Duality.
There is the whole principle of duality. And I'm not saying that's the complete truth, because there are dimensions and there is existence where you don't need that anymore. You're not ruled by dualities. But our first experiences or our predominant experiences of life are
this dimension.
Yeah. It's through contrast, pain and pleasure, So I may have a lesson to learn, and maybe I have the option of learning it with joy and ease, but I don't take it up. Maybe I can focus on my wellness. Maybe I can really nurture this body which has been given to me as a vehicle, but I don't do it. Now the universe gives me a kick. How? Some disease is created. Now this disease is leading me back to wellness. So in a very similar way, duality leads you, the contrast leads you
To unity.
to unity.
True. Wow. So, I mean, if you compare, the hypnotherapy session to a sound healing, I am basically accessing the same memories in both the sessions. But the treatment, in the sense, the healing is different in the two.
One is, of course, that both the paths are leading to the same thing. In hypnotherapy, I could use a script to gently lead a person into a space of trance. In sound healing, instead of using a script, I'm using vibration to lead them to that same space.
It's more effortless.
Yes. It's also more tuned in to certain people's energy. And that discernment lies with the therapist. Now, when both of us have led the person to that space, we may be using similar tools. We may be using similar inner child healing. We may be using similar work in terms of healing that part which is hurt or wounded, or accessing the memory that we want to. And we may even wrap it up in different ways. So that's how the journey varies, but it's different, very, very different. It's a different experience. Now, let's say there is a person who's scared because of certain myths or certain feedback from others that, oh, if I go into regression, if I go into hypnotherapy, I might be stuck in that time.
Well, most of us have that.
Yeah, that fear can
resistance.
come up. Now, in sound healing, you don't feel that because you're already in a very safe space. You know, I'm in a good space. I'm in a very safe space. So when I'm accessing that memory also, I'm also being nourished, nurtured. So I can let go more easily.
And how does one decide the number of sessions or the frequency that I would need? Is there a method or a formula?
I wish for the human mind there was, but the human mind, like we say, the human psyche is bigger than the largest supercomputer we can ever think of. So ideally, I think there are two things that play a role in this. One is how deep is the issue? How deep do we need to go? And the second thing, of course, is how willing is the person, right? And so both these factors really do affect. Sometimes the child within me may not even feel safe enough to come up in the first few sessions, or may not feel comfortable to communicate or reconnect. So it may take a while for that safety to be built, that trust to be built. Let's imagine if you're a parent who's put your child into a boarding school and for whatever reason has stopped meeting them completely for many years. Now when you try going back, is that child going to be waiting for you with open arms? Not at all. The child might even tell the school authorities, I don't want to meet my mother or father. So you got to be willing to build a safe environment. So you revisit, you create a lovely environment, you apologize for things, you come out clean, and the inner child will reconnect. So in a session also, the therapist needs to assess it exactly that way and build that relationship, build that safety, and therefore lead you. Therefore, there's no fixed time. It depends on the issue we are working on. There are times when you're working with somebody who's experienced a lot of trauma. Maybe there was sexual abuse over the years. Maybe there were repeated patterns of inner child wounds, right? Maybe somebody did something and then the pattern got repeated with a best friend, and then the pattern got repeated again. So obviously this would require a deeper intervention, as compared to someone who maybe had a difficult thing, but is more willing to work on it, is more aware, has already done some work. So maybe a few sessions will get you to that space of healing.
But can I skip the counseling part? Let's say, I'm going through some mental health issue again, and maybe I'm not ready to do the communication part. Would you recommend somebody to directly take a sound healing session because, as you said, it's effortless, it's non-invasive. And would it still work similar way, and in a more probably effective way, where I don't even need to vocalize it and it's just healing whatever is required with the cosmic intelligence?
So I would not recommend that, to be honest. I think the reason being that the session is a starting point. The inner child healing is a starting point for a lifetime of relationship, healthy relationship with your inner child. Now, in order to build that healthy relationship with the inner child, I got to be willing to first connect. And the important thing is not whether the person is willing to talk or not. The important thing is, why are they not willing to talk? I will not be willing to talk if I don't feel safe enough. I will not be willing to talk because I'm not willing to connect. I will not be willing to talk because I want to bypass the non-pretty parts. Now, while that will work as a quick fix, it will not work in the long run, because when I go back to life, what do I do now? That unwillingness I'm going to carry into the rest of my life. So the unwillingness needs to dissolve. The person needs to be ready. And remember, in the olden times, you were not just given spiritual wisdom and practices like that. In the book, The Autobiography of a Yogi, you often come across the term the sincere seeker, the deserving seeker, which meant that not every Tom, Dick and Harry or anybody who's in pain can access those practices. Because unless you're willing, unless you are willing to be 100% participant, it's not going to happen. And I'm using the word willing with caution, because I may not be able to participate 100%, but am I willing to participate?
That's where it starts.
Yeah. I am here in this podcast. Am I 100% willing to be present here? That doesn't mean that I'm here at my 100% capacity. It could be like you've just flown in. It could be that you have, not slept enough, blah, blah, blah. But you're willing to be 100% here. And that itself, then the universe takes it from there. Then you're not alone. So that willingness is very important, which is why I would recommend that you're a partner in the healing process.
But is it also sometimes possible that, with a sound healing session, my resistance is breaking apart? And maybe, let's say, after 2 or 3 sessions, I'm ready to even communicate. Does that also happen?
Yes. In fact, that is a beautiful path to take. Sometimes there are people who come in, take to sound healing, really take to it, enjoy it, and the resistance melts. They feel safe enough. So that's a beautiful route to take, where you've established the safety. Now they're willing to talk. Now they're willing to bring it up.
Yeah, because it's kind of breaking the shackles and kind of the walls that we build around.
And it doesn't even have to be formal coaching sessions. It can even be that during sound healing itself, you may experience a breakthrough. You may start sharing, I just realized this happened in my childhood. I just realized this. And again, I'm not somebody who works in a clinical manner. I work in a holistic manner. So the whole emphasis is on creating a safe space where you feel welcomed into coming home. So
to
when
yourself.
To your own home. So that's when you feel safe enough, whether it is through sound healing. Now we built that. Now you're willing to face it in whatever format. It doesn't have to be in a coaching session. It can be in another format. I could be sitting under a tree in a retreat and experience that. So it doesn't have to be in a clinical therapist chair. That's a very old paradigm. That's not what the new world is all about. So we can access things in nature. We can access things in any form of safety.